evening. Look at Mr. Velasquez. Is this 4K? Is this 4K? We're seeing
Man,
Charlie in?
things are improving.
You look
Not
like a
that
professional.
I just got the right cable to plug in my good camera, so that's basically it. So it was like a $7
You don't look too bad in 4K.
upgrade.
You still look like a granddad.
Look
Which
what
I'll
I'm
cover
wearing.
into
But
the
yeah,
outro.
just let me show you what I'm wearing, okay?
Oh, boy.
Ooh, okay. And this is like from the 2003 World Cup.
You're being pretty presumptuous for a guy whose team lost yesterday.
Yeah,
Not by much. Not
I
by
know,
much,
by
I will
1
add.
point. The All Blacks also lost by 1 point. So,
Uruguay lost by 3 points, Charlie, but that's okay.
Oh, we did? Okay. I
But
was
there's still a
driving.
very good chance that you make that up in Montevideo, I think.
I was still driving from Tampa back from the FCC sevens.
FCC sevens, yeah. There's been a lot gone on since our last episode, which we'll get to that the FCC stuff in a bit.
Yes.
How was everything with you, Charlie? How was Tampa? You spent some time at my alumni game, at the FAU alumni game and banquet.
Yeah, man. It's been weekends full of rugby because,
which is weird in September, October.
Well, with the rugby championship, it's 3 a.m, 6 a.m, and then if you have a game, or like yesterday we went to Tampa, it's all day long, nonstop. So
yeah, I forget you sleep at weird hours.
And I have been doing some other stuff, as you may have seen. I would like to talk a little bit about.
Yes, you've been a very busy man with your camera and your microphone.
Maybe you can interview me about that.
Yeah, Charlie, tell us about your newest little project that you've been doing to sort of fill in your very busy schedule you have of doing nothing.
I started doing two things, and these are just like, why did I start doing this? It just clicks at one point. So on one hand, I've been going to the clubs, for now the local clubs, and whenever I run into somebody at some event like yesterday in Tampa, right. and basically what the goal is to get the people who are running the clubs, or typically the coaches, the president, when it's like a college team, a player, the captain,
right,
and just have them talk about how the club is doing and any kind of projects. And I think it's a nice thing to put the faces out there, because you go through sometimes years of rugby and you've never seen who's the president of Jacksonville, because these are clubs you never actually go to. So my goal is to, by the end of the
You okay?
By the end of the season, is to have every club in Florida at least once in this, what I call at the clubs, and if possible, I go to the clubs. I'm at the practice, so I get a sense of feeling of how the club is doing.
You're a roving reporter. We call you in England a roving reporter.
Roving, okay.
A roving. You're all over the place, everywhere.
I'll take it.
Where have you been so far? Give us some places you've been so far for those of you that haven't seen your videos.
So I ended up in Miami's. Miami has their clubhouse here 5 minutes from my house. So I went to that barbecue they do the first Thursdays, which brings in a lot of old boys and a very good asado.
Good.
And then I've been to the Tridents. They invited me to their AGM. So I went to the Tridents. I went to Key Biscayne last Thursday. And I think those are the visits I've done. I'm planning to do some others as the season progresses. And at FCC, at Tampa yesterday, I got to interview most of the coaches from the teams and the presidents.
Right.
I will give an apology right now to Ken Simmons, because I did a great interview with him and his captain, and then just to find out that the audio was not there. So
that's not good.
Sorry, Ken. No, it's not good. I'll have to make it up to him somehow. And then I'm also doing the referee thing. Who's the ref?
Right.
And I think that is, I've always been a very big supporter, as you know, of the referees.
Yes.
And I've been very lucky to be able to be on the inside a little bit, going to the AGMs when we had those old Florida days where the referees did their AGM. So it was a great opportunity to get to know the referees. And for me, it was very important because it's a totally different view when you get to know the referee, other than screaming at him during the games, but you get to know the person, and I think the thing that most impressed me always was the dedication that you guys have, or at least most of them.
I was going to say, yes.
I don't know
there
about
are
you,
a ton
Ross.
of good refs in this state. There are a ton of good refs in this state, I will say.
Yes, and it's the dedication that they have. They don't take it lightly, and the proof is that actually we probably have more. We have produced great referees. Unfortunately, they're all gone for the most part.
They get the hell out of this hellhole. Yes,
Well, different
rugby opportunities elsewhere, I should say.
Well, different reasons, because
yes,
it's not that
jobs, education,
everything.
The two reasons most people leave here.
We're gonna have one of them today, Cisco Lopez, that was recently on the big stage. So anyway, yes, I'm also working with the FRRA on the the website and stuff. So it also occurred to me, hey, there are 60 active referees on the list. So yes, my goal is to talk to the 60 of them, either when I run into them or when I will do it remotely, Let me play just a little 1-minute clip here just to
go
give
on,
a set,
Charlie.
If that's okay with you, Ross.
Go ahead. Promo yourself.
Thank you, Charlie.
Well, that was the...
Is it bad or is it good?
It's not great. And especially when you ask a player why do you think that? I had somebody tell me. It's all verbal. It's all tribal knowledge. Exactly. It's all in the back of my head. And it's not, this is what the law
That's Tom Ciampa.
He can talk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ross asked me to ask you this question.
This was in the pissing rain before our alumni game. That's why you're under a tent.
Correct.
He wants
we
to
only
know
see half of
if
Tom's
you're planning
face.
to hold up
people
the
walking
game
in front of the camera.
I plan on at least 2-minute breaks to tie my own shoes.
Okay, that's Tom tying his shoe.
Fair.
It was really tough at first, understanding that you're in charge, trying to make sure everybody is safe, making sure the team understands what you want from them. But I believe after that first game, after
he's at any game there is, you're gonna find Jose there for sure.
My dad got me into it. He started the year before me and nagged me for about a year until I finally came through. And
blow the whistle.
Can you say that never happens?
No.
Closer to home.
And which is the worst one?
Which is the worst one?
No, you don't have to answer that. Hey, man, thank you very much. We'll see you around, okay?
Charlie, you're a content machine at the moment, mate. A content machine.
I am, but I need some support, some sponsors, because it's not that much of a work doing it, because I'm already there. It's just basically setting up the camera and stuff. But actually, it is a little bit of work, the production, the post production, because you have to add titles and stuff and post it. So if anybody out there that is willing to support these projects, please contact me. Okay, that's enough of me. Thank you very much for the...
Yeah, 10 minutes for you is enough. I think we only had you down for 5 minutes.
Oh, anyway, my God. I'll give them back later, okay?
The time flies. We'll get through. We've got a busy episode tonight.
Yes.
We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of news and notes from around Florida rugby.
Let's get to them quickly.
Yes. Alex Wantlin. I got an email from Bert Wantlin. Alex Wantlin, the dad of Alex and Nicole, and the third sister whose first name I can't remember, who plays soccer at Florida Southern. Alex Wantlin, who was a guest with us, was it last year, Charlie, or was it earlier this year? It might have been last fall, right?
Last year.
One of the bright young Florida rugby products. She went up to play rugby at Life. Tore her ACL. I'm not sure if it was the end of last year or the beginning of this year, but actually played through it. I refereed her earlier this year when I was up in Atlanta for the MLR game and for some soccer. I ended up doing some sevens with Cisco, and Alex was playing there. She had her knee all bandaged up, and she had surgery in June. And then Bert emailed me last week and that she has signed a full-time contract to play sevens for the USA Eagles. She will be a resident in Chula Vista starting in December. They'll take care of all her rehab. She had her knee surgery in June, so she's already a few months into her knee rehab. Obviously, Alex started playing her rugby with the Wellington Wolverines, has played sevens at a pretty elite level in national competitions around the country. Her sister, I think, was playing for Army at one point. I'm not sure how much she's playing at the moment because she's certainly getting more into her military career. But yeah, she's going to be an Eagle,
right?
Which is awesome. She might spend some time in Australia playing in a sevens league down there for the women. So we should expect to see lots of her next year, I should say, in 2020.
So we have a Florida Eagle in the women's team and another one in the men's team right now.
We do. We've got Malachi, obviously Malachi Esdale playing, and we've got Kristen Thomas playing for the women, and now another one as well, up and coming. Obviously, still very young, and a bright future for Alex Wantlin.
Awesome.
Congrats to her and everybody involved in her rise up the rugby ladder. We also have Marcos Young, Key Biscayne, right, Charlie? Former Key Biscayne.
Correct.
Who else? He went back to Argentina, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, he went back to Argentina and he's playing with one of the main teams that is in the top 4 of the highest league. I think they call it the top 12,
top level Argentinian rugby. He was playing for 404 in Atlanta for a little while. I know we talked to him, early this year or last year as well. I think it was last fall as well.
Ross, I was seeing this theme that whenever we talk about these players that, like, we're going to talk today to Matt Coore, one thing that I see that is in common, these are players that have taken all the opportunities that have come across, and just taken them, because all these players that they have been to different, levels of planes. Many of them going to to those all-star games from USA Rugby, whatever that they can get, they take, and eventually it seems to pay off, right?
No, listen, we know it's not cheap, right, to travel around the country and play as high-level rugby as you can, but you can do fundraising, ask for support, do what you got to do to get places and be seen. That's the key thing, right? I know, with this Eagle Eye scouting thing I'm doing, that's helping things as well for the younger age kids. But if you have an opportunity to play for a representative side, an invitational side, whether it's 7s or 15s, go out there and do it, because you never know who's watching.
Yep. Okay.
So Marcos Young playing top level in Argentina. Great to see. We mentioned that shirt of yours, Charlie. Los Teros almost beat the USA yesterday, a 3-point game. Cam Dolan, former Naples youth player, and obviously and he played for the men's team there as well when he was younger. So the USA will only take a 3-point lead down to Montevideo next weekend. I'm not too confident in the USA's ability to pull that one out, Charlie.
Over there at home?
Well, USA and Uruguay. I'm not sure if they.
No, of course not. You want to make a bet right now?
No, I would put money on the Uruguayans to win that one down there.
Oh, you are?
Issues, especially if we don't have our number 10 playing. Of course, he's out injured at the moment. AJ McGinty. I don't think he's going to be back for next weekend. But
it's going to be a 10-point
Canada
10-point game,
Chile, right? Charlie, Canada beat Chile, I think.
Yes, by very closely they did.
That was close too. So South America coming on strong. Obviously, Argentina always the big name down there, but
thank you.
Teams are getting better. Sevens. This weekend coming up. PR Sevens, Premier Rugby Sevens in Memphis. If you have nothing else to do, want to go out to Memphis and watch some top level Sevens rugby, you can do that. I know Perry Baker's playing out there. Kristen Thomas of UCF, John Powers, who played his youth rugby in the north side of Florida, he'll be playing in that Sevens tournament. So I think it's being broadcast on Fox Sports.
Yes,
Charlie.
2, Fox Sports 2, FS2.
So whatever. Check out that this weekend. All right, FCC Sevens. We mentioned it. It was yesterday. Charlie, you went up there. Tell us a bit about that trip up there and what ended up happening.
Yes, I'm gonna run these highlights in the meantime. This is of the final. We did
referee.
Yeah, we did have, just to note it, UCF was not able to attend for some snafu with the college, that kind of stuff. They whatever. So UCF was not there, and it did seem like some teams overall did not prepare too much for this, and it was pretty exciting that we had like 3 games that went to overtime.
Nice.
Including the final, which we're watching right now, that ended 17-12.
Yeah, FAU in red and the Gators in obviously their traditional blue and orange. This man could have a bright future if he wanted to spend time with not doing 50s and just doing 7s. He knocked Jermaine.
Yeah, well,
a set of wheels.
he definitely does.
I'd like to see him put tries down with two hands.
Well,
this was an exciting game because FAU had beaten. I think they'd beaten the Gators handily earlier in the day, like 24-7 or something in group stage.
They did.
But the Gators came up strong and ended up pulling out the victory in the championship game.
I think the Gators showed a little bit more rugby. And, the FAU guys, they went with a very small roster of 9 guys.
They did.
So they were probably tired. And they got a yellow card in this game also.
Yes, a controversial yellow card. I'm hearing things from both sides. We're going to talk Cisco Lopez. Cisco Lopez, stay tuned here.
You're talking about a red card that was in another game. I'm saying.
Oh, this was the yellow card here. Cisco's watching this one.
We'll
come back to this later. Well, I want Cisco's opinion on that card.
Let me I should have this more handy. Let me see if I have it right here.
Nice run line there by that Gator.
No, I don't.
Tackled by Hinook, but then recycled. Gators come right. Is this the overtime try? I can't remember.
I'm not looking right now.
What a stretch for that try that was. They weren't celebrating like it was a game-winning try.
No, because they were a little bit confused.
The first points in overtime in sevens. That's it. Because seems to know what's going on. Maybe that wasn't the last try. This might be the winner.
In the play before the last try, it was a hold up, and they did what do you call them? A kickoff from a drop kick.
Drop?
Yeah, from the try line.
There's the winning try. It looks like they're celebrating like winners, the Gators. They were not winners in college football yesterday. They lost to Kentucky, but they were winners in college rugby.
Yeah.
Great to see the Gators. They've had a few down years in Gainesville. But, of course, Kenny Simmons running the show there. That was always going to come back around, and it looks like they've got some good numbers. I'm hearing great things
some
out
quick
of
words
FSU,
here.
solid numbers there.
Ken,
Kenny Simmons.
We had a nice chat earlier today.
Yes.
It went because the audio did not work. But right now, congratulations.
You got to point the microphone to your face, Charlie.
Tight match, went to overtime.
A what?
I think you played good rugby.
You got to get that microphone closer to your mouth.
Okay.
Third overtime match today between the two teams.
Wow.
And we won them all. That tells me that we've got the team with the attitude to win now.
Good. Well, congratulations. It was very nice seeing you guys play.
And you can't say enough about how hard FAU played with their limited roster as far as numbers.
Oh, yeah.
It was a tough game. It was a tough game.
We're gonna see you. We're gonna see you during the season, Coach.
Yep, absolutely.
Nice seeing you.
Bye-bye. All right, thank you.
Always so gracious, Ken.
Charlie, Kenny, a rugby legend. We had a whole episode dedicated to him last year. You can check that out on YouTube. So the Gators win that one.
Yeah, you know what? This year, I think the sevens. It's only one tournament. We'll talk with Kirk in a little bit.
Yeah.
About this, it is a little bit different from other years. I don't think there's a clear path to what's going to happen next in terms of nationals. So we'll talk to Kirk about that.
We'll talk to Kirk in a minute about that.
Let's mention our sponsor that he said he was going to drop by, and he has not.
Brock Roper, listen, graciously sponsoring a few episodes here in the fall for us with T-Pro Roper Plumbing. If you're in the Brevard, Melbourne area up there, check him out. Roper Plumbing. I'm sure you can Google that and find out all the relevant information that you might need, phone number, email, etc. Or you can contact Charlie or I and we'll provide it to you. A solid sponsor and supporter of Florida Rugby and T-Pro. All right. Let's get to the meat of this episode, Charlie. We have two main topics tonight. The first one being, we didn't show our FAU rugby alumni highlights, Charlie.
Oh, we have a small highlight.
So we had our FAU alumni game, which was canceled from last year. We had the banquet as well. We had a great time. Charlie was there for the evening, and
you mean the try of the game?
Time.
You're talking
the
about
try of the year. Cisco just called it the try of the year, I think, before when we were in the green room earlier.
I think Cisco's drunk, but let's see. Okay. Oh no, it's not this one. Maybe it's this one.
Oh, we missed it.
Wait. We have to play it properly.
I'm so tired right there. I played 40 minutes in this game, Charlie. What's this? Little sidestep. I beat one. I beat two. And then I ran into Pete Lawrence, who I
thought you had a heart attack right there.
You did thought I have a heart attack. They all went out like it was the pain on my face. This is what happens when you only play rugby once a year. I did make the conversion as well, but I missed a couple of kicks, missed touch twice, dropped a couple of passes. But the important thing is, Charlie, I survived.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. I congratulate. I congratulate. I wish I could do that. Man.
Ted on the right-hand side there is 53. Gus is older than me. There's only at least 4 or 5 guys older than me that took the field on. This was last Saturday, but great time had by all. Tom Champa, good job of reffing. FAU boys gave it their all, but the alumni came out winners in the end, 29-17.
As usual.
Well, that was a tight game. That was 17-0 with about 10 minutes to go. You know, I had to call on some of the more experienced alumni, and we pulled it out in the end. Even with me on the field, that was despite me playing 10.
And you guys take it too seriously, those games.
Listen,
we should have more fun.
Charlie, let's listen. We don't take it seriously. There's no doubt we don't take it seriously. The other opponents may take it a little too seriously, but we certainly don't.
Okay.
But a fun day. All right, let's get to. We're going to talk about some college rugby in Florida tonight, Charlie. To start
yes.
with. Then we'll chat with Cisco Lopez, the newest member of the World Rugby Sevens refereeing circuit.
This is the plan for the fall for us. We're going to be on each episode talking of
yes.
one division. So we decided to start with college because it seemed to be the one that had things, at least on the men's side, more set up.
They're going. They're certainly going on both. Yeah, the men a little more than the women, but they're catching up. So we're going to bring in Jesse Promet, who's a collegiate VP for men and women, as well as Kirk Swanner, the Florida Collegiate Conference FCC commissioner. Is it crazy that we have a commissioner? It almost sounds like we're a professional sport, Kirk. Kirk, Jesse, how are we?
Doing good.
Great.
How are you guys?
Thanks for having us.
Can hear you very well. These college folks have their internet connections down pat, Charlie. They've got the cameras. Jesse could be sideways, but we'll give her the benefit of the doubt.
Right, looks great.
We can hear it. Good connection, and we can hear you well. That's the main thing. All right, so we'll start ladies first. Jesse, give us a bit of your rugby background, just quickly, before we get to dive into deep stuff here with the college women.
I started in college at Jupiter High School. Sean Simon taught me how to play rugby, and I played years there. And then, he's playing in Boynton now. And then I went to USF, and I played there for about 5 years. And I started coaching them after I graduated. And then shortly after that, I became the collegiate director for the FRU in 2017. And right before that, I stopped coaching USF a little bit, and then I joined Coore. And I've been playing with Coore ever since. And then I've still been the collegiate director.
And what does being the collegiate director involve? A lot of people know sort of who the members are that are involved with the Florida Rugby Union, but not everybody knows exactly who does what. So Jesse, tell us what your responsibilities are.
Sure. I work heavily with Evan. Him and I, email all the time. And we work on the schedule at the beginning of the season each year. And then I pretty much kind of troubleshoot throughout the year if colleges have questions. And I focus mainly on the women's side. I deal a little bit with the NCR teams as well. But mainly it's the college women. And it's really just troubleshooting things throughout the year, making sure everybody's schedule is set and, they have the information that they need.
Yeah, that's probably one of the hardest parts, right? Getting that schedule sorted. Keeping everybody happy. Listen, we can't keep everybody happy, but I know you and the rest of the board do a great job of trying to keep most people happy and keep everybody civilized. Give us a sort of update on how college women's rugby in Florida is looking at the moment.
Definitely, unfortunately, COVID's really been a major factor for these college women's sides. There's definitely been some clubs that kind of got to play a little bit last spring, and now they've kind of excelled a little bit further than the other clubs that had no season last year, or at least weren't allowed to play based on the university rules. But right now, what we're looking at is Life University JV side is joining the Division I college women. So they're going to be playing UCF, FSU, and UF, and a little bit of Eckerd, I believe, just to kind of give them a little bit of more competition. They're definitely not going to get to advance, further to nationals or anything like that. But it's just kind of a way to elevate their schedule. And then for Division II, we are struggling a little bit. They got impacted a lot by the pandemic going on. So right now we're looking at Eckerd and USF and hopefully FIU. And I know FAU is still kind of in the rebuilding phase. But we have a schedule that we're working on between N and I, and we'll be having that out to them soon. But it looks like Division I is definitely a bit more established than Division II at this time due to the pandemic. And they were already struggling prior to that as well. So it's definitely been a tough couple of years for college women.
And what's the NCR situation on the women's side of things? For those that don't know, NCR was sort of the small college, NSCRO, as you mentioned previously known as. They sort of become a breakaway sort of vagabond side of rugby in the USA. USA Rugby haven't been particularly working well with them, as from what I've heard. I'm sure Kirk can delve into that a little more in a minute. But how's that looking on the women's side, and how are we looking at sort of advancing from Florida?
So with NCR, what we ended up doing is we asked the clubs that were in NCR, last year if they would like to pursue in that, and basically it was just echoed, and they decided that they wanted to stick with the rest of the college women in the state of Florida. So as far as the women's sides go, we don't have any that are in NCR. They're all under USA Rugby. But what they're under now is the CRAA, which is the Collegiate Rugby Association of America. And kind of how the senior club council's been run, there's this kind of council within USA Rugby. So they're under the CRAA.
Gotcha. All right, Jesse, we'll come back to you in a second. Let's get to Kirk here. We can start with the men's side of things. Kirk, give us a bit of your rugby history.
Thanks, Ross. Yeah, I probably started playing back in 2005 up at Florida State. When I graduated, I stuck around, did my master's, so there's no men's club at the time. So I started getting into more of the coaching then. I was already like the vice president in the administration for the club at that point. And so did that, took a year off, went down to New Zealand, played down there. Played some all-star USA Rugby South collegiates 2 years, came back, took over the head coaching role at Florida State, probably back in 2012. I think it's spring 2012 or spring 2011, one of the two. I just did that. Played on the USA South men's when they won the NACRA, whatever it was, in 2013, I think it is. Left Tallahassee, I think, New Year's Day, 14 or 15, for a job. I think it was 14. Moved out of Texas, bounced around the country a whole bunch of times. Now I'm out here in California. In doing so out here, and after seeing all the fiasco that's happened in the college scene, my idea of creating the collegiate conference, the Florida Collegiate Conference, so that way we can take control of our macro schedule so that we can have a baseline to build from. I pitched it to the union. Carrie had me working with Evan, and we came up with the idea, pitched it to the Cirque teams. So we're going back in history here, but so that's what we started doing this. This will be our 4th year. So last year was the 23s, but we did 2 full years in 18, 19, 19, 20. Here we are.
Yeah, because Cirque had some extra teams. I remember Middle Tennessee was in it for a while. We had some other teams outside the state. But I think we have enough talent here to sort of support our own conference. And I think it's gone well so far.
Yeah, so like back when the GU system came around, just a year or two before that, the colleges left and went into their own conferences. So they're mostly trying to align along football conferences. So you had the ACC conference, you had the SEC conference, and then you had a whole bunch of teams. And they also wanted you, if you're the university team, if your college football, if your football team was Division I, they wanted your rugby team to be D1. So it pushed a lot of teams up, probably where they shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And that's where like the South Independent Rugby Conference, or the Cirque, came from. So it was like a couple teams in Florida was one division. Then you had like this Georgia, Tennessee division. And that went on for a while, like from spring 2013, I think was the first one. And it ended, I think, in spring 17, 18, whatever it was.
Around there, yeah.
Florida teams won it every year. Just want to point that out. So
yes. So we formed our own Florida Collegiate Conference, which I think is a great thing. It's a big state, certainly big enough players here to support that. How is the FCC looking today? Who have we got in? Who have we not got in? We'll talk about NCR as well on the men's side of things.
Yeah. So it's you got the 5 biggest universities in the state, right? So UCF is the largest, and you got UF, Florida State, USF, and FIU. So you got the 5 biggest universities; they're all in it. University of FAU is the next biggest, and University of North Florida. So we did have 8 previously, but FGCU dropped out this year, so we're down to 7. And honestly, I think it's looking strong. Like don't sleep on UF, as you saw yesterday. So
we always need to be back.
The
schedule there.
So the whole point of like my commissionership, or what I'm basically trying to preach to the guys, is that if you organize it, they will come. So it's not, I don't think it matters about on-field performance. The coaching is necessary, but it's really about organization. If you make it organized, like the kids will show up. So that's what we're working towards.
It's always a challenge. I mean, I work pretty closely with FAU, being the president of the Alumni Foundation. That's the hardest thing, is the off the field stuff, right? Dealing with the university itself and dealing with the paperwork through USA Rugby, which is a great learning experience for down the road in life.
Like people,
some schools have it better than others, I think, but FAU's getting there.
People always want, they always ask, like, why don't universities support the rugby teams more? And to be honest, we're not varsity. It's never going to happen. So we need to accept that and move on, and know that universities, they don't add sports teams just to add sports teams, right? Like when Florida State added their sand volleyball, that was a big donation they got from Gabrielle Reese to pay for their new courts and pay for all their scholarships, right? So like, schools don't have money growing from trees. So if we want universities to support the clubs, we have to organize it, get the money, go give that to the foundation, the school foundation, under a rugby line item, and then we can operate off the surplus there. But, everyone wants, like, why don't we have scholarships? Football, we're not football, right? When you compare rugby to other Olympic sports don't have scholarships, and that's fine. No. We can do that just fine. None of the big programs give scholarships, and the ones that do, it's debatable.
Yeah, partial stuff I know is out there for certain things. I know the women have a sort of feeder program with a little bit of scholarship money coming into certain schools and trying to get that under the NCAA banner. I'll talk to Jesse about that in a second. But what about some of the other schools, Kirk, that we know that have had rugby programs in the past? Ave Maria, Eckerd.
So you're talking about
FIT had a program for a while.
Right. I mean, there was Embry-Riddle for a minute. Yeah. So, I mean, all these like NSCRO, National Small College, now under the NCR banner, after USA Rugby spent some NSCRO money and didn't get paid back. And after their bankruptcy, they basically took their toys and left the sandbox. So now you got this like split. And the other thing about NCR is that they're a fall-based championship. So Ave Maria, Eckerd College, FGCU Miami, and FGCU Miami were above the small college threshold. So really it's Ave Maria and Eckerd College. But I wish Florida had a second division college conference or division for these guys to go in, but we don't have one at the moment. And where are we going to get more teams to do that? What I'd love to see happen is these men's teams run U23s, right? Because if you look what's happening right now, the majority of kids are going to community college first. So there's a bunch of kids that are graduating high school that play rugby that don't have a place to go. And if men's teams would understand the value of running 23s as a feeder for their men's program, then we'd have this whole division, age-appropriate college rugby, college age-appropriate rugby that we could play against. But right now there's not one. But they do have their own pool in the D4, and that's where they're at the moment.
Yeah, no, D4 seems to be exploding in Florida. Yeah, I mean, when I come from England, we have Colts, U19s, U21s, U23s. There is university rugby, but it's not particularly serious, except at a few colleges here and there. But yeah, it'd be interesting. Obviously, I think it was a reasonable success last year with the U23s, with certain programs aligning with the men's teams, and maybe that's something we can look at in the future. Charlie wanted to ask about after the States this year. Obviously, there's going to be an FCC championship. You and I talked about bowl games at one point last year. What's sort of on the horizon for anything past the state championship this season coming up?
So, this is a really tough. It's super convoluted because previously, like, we can talk about the same.
Hey, everything is complicated in college. It's like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
So but just to starting point, we don't have what we had before, right? The structure that we had before, that's gone.
USA Rugby used to do the event management, right? Yeah. So like in the previous two times, when FIU and FAU won the sevens, when USA Rugby was going to host the D1AA Sevens National Championship, they were our representative to go. USA Rugby's out of the event management space now, right? So now they left it up to the affiliations, right? So and within college, you got three different ones going on, right? You got NCR, who's totally separate from USA Rugby. You got CRAA, who only runs D1A. They don't run D1AA. And then you got like ACR, American College Rugby, another acronym, pick it. And they're basically the old D1AA group, but they're out west. And again, we in the FCC chose to go independent because that was the best place for us at the moment. And in doing so, it meant that we don't have a clear pathway, but that doesn't mean we're not working on one. It's just too early in the season to really talk about one. So, and that's as far as the sevens. As far as the 15s, again, like, what is a D1AA national championship if not a participation trophy, right? I am a much bigger proponent of regionals or bowl games, not of nationals. Yeah. And once you start talking regionals, our closest region is the SCRC, and they play fall rugby, right? So now if you want to start talking bowl games, we can talk that. And again, we're working on something. I just can't talk about it right now.
All right, so there's something in the works, but yeah, I think regional. Like Charlie and I both agreed that regionally is probably the way to go. Like I know America loves its national championships, but the size of the country, the money you spend in getting across, state lines and across to the West Coast and wherever the championships are that year is just, for a lot of schools, it's just crazy.
Ross, can I say one more thing real quick?
Yeah.
So, like, Charlie, what's the name of your website?
Rugbyfl.com.
Rugby in Florida, right? And so now we're talking about rugby outside of Florida, right? And so I feel like every time we talk about national, I feel like I'm an adult talking to a kid who wants to go eat McDonald's because he doesn't like broccoli, right? Like, eat your vegetables first, then we can go talk about dessert.
Absolutely.
Yeah, increase the strength of rugby here.
There you go.
On the road. I do like the regional thing, and I think the bowl game will be fun as well. Let's go back to Jesse real quick. Jesse, what's the sort of state on the women's side of things post Florida? I assume we're in a similar situation on the women's side.
Yeah, I don't have any specific information for our spring championships, but I know that the CRAA is running fall championships, so I would imagine it would be the same case for the spring, and then as it goes, the fall and the spring champions would play on until the national championship. So I would imagine that there's still going to be some kind of championship for the spring teams.
Okay, interesting.
Which is all of our Florida teams.
And has it been thought of sort of all-star representative teams traveling? I know the men took an FCC team or was it a CERC team? Maybe, I think it was an FCC team about 3 or 4 years ago, out to Texas and beat them. Is there talk about that on either side? Jesse, you can go first with that, with the women's side of things. I know we've had it sort of come and go, at the senior level. Mm-hmm. And in the youth level, it's been obviously a big success. But has there been talk about it on the collegiate time?
At this point, there's not any talk. I think what needs to happen right now is clubs really need to focus on building themselves back up over the last couple of years. And if clubs that are already established want to pursue that, then they're going to have to find another way. But at this point, there isn't something all-star related for the college women at this point.
And how are the numbers looking? I saw some numbers from FSU men today. We're talking about hosting a little thing in a couple of weeks, and they were saying their numbers are looking really good on the men's side. UCF looking good. How are the numbers on the women's side looking?
I don't have specific numbers, but I know that UCF and FSU are doing pretty well with numbers. I think UF, unfortunately, is struggling a little bit. Eckerd, they were dealing with some issues with the university as far as their COVID protocols, but I know they're starting contact practices next week, so their numbers are looking good. As far as the other college programs go, unfortunately, it's just not looking great for them. They've got to do a lot of recruiting and building back up from these last couple of years, so definitely a struggle for them right now.
Yeah, there's always the option as well. And I remember I'm trying to help with getting FAU back going again. We talked about if we did get some numbers, going to play some sevens tournaments or tens tournaments and sort of get the ball rolling, without trying to get 30 to 40 women out there at once.
And is it rolling?
Ross, is FAU rolling? Oh, no, the biggest issue, I'm not sure if it's the same with other universities, is that they don't want to listen to anybody that's not a student. So I can't just walk into Campus Rec and say, I want to the FAU women's team. It has to be a student that does it, and I've been trying to get the FAU men on board with getting somebody in there to get it restarted. They had apparently when they were recruiting in the breezeway, they had a ton of girls coming out to them saying they wanted to play, and they were like, "Well, we don't really have a team at the moment, but we'll take your information." So I'm hoping in 2022 we can get things going.
That's what I was hearing as well.
Yeah, no, I think the interest is there. It's just getting that organization in place, as Kirk said. Now, Kirk, what about FCC All Stars? I know we had a trip to Texas a few years ago that was very successful.
Yeah, we went to
potential of that coming in the spring.
Yeah, we're working on it again. We went to New Orleans and teamed up with NOLA Gold. This time we'll probably look to maybe ATL. There's some other chats about maybe going further north. It just kind of depends. We are in some talks right now with some other representative teams. So So just trying to figure out date and location that we can meet up at. So again, these are all these things that we have to build ourselves. And again, as a commissioner, it sounds professional, but it ain't. I'm not good.
Well, listen, I know you two do great work behind the scenes. Not everybody gets to see it, and thank you for it. But I appreciate the work that you guys put on the college side of things. Charlie, you have anything more to add before we say goodbye to these two?
Actually, Evan, I interviewed Evan yesterday, and one thing he said that we are so lucky to have this guy as commissioner because he is so dedicated. And even, hey, you moved to California and you still want to be part of Florida. That's very commendable.
I woke up yesterday morning. The first thing I did for an hour was deal with eligibility. Right? So FAU took 11. They played 9 their first game. I spent an hour dealing with eligibility for them. So they actually had 11 on the weekend. So the last couple games. Yeah, I mean, that's so. My wife hates it. So yeah.
Of course.
Well, Jesse, Kirk, appreciate you joining us tonight. Good luck with the season. Hopefully, it's a success. Which how you gauge a success, I don't know in this COVID era, but hopefully we get a full season in as much as we can and see as many kids on the field as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
We'll have you back. Bye-bye.
For sure. Good to talk to Jesse Permet and Kirk Swanner there. Two of the hardest working people behind the scenes in Florida Rugby. There's no doubt about it.
College has so many, it's so much harder than any other division.
It's a complete mess. I mean, maybe FCC can get a second division in there, you know, an A and a B, and move up and down, etc. You know, depending on how your numbers are and the size. Because I don't think the size of the school should really matter. Because I think to a certain degree, the private schools might have smaller numbers, but they certainly have more money. Available if they do things right.
And listen,
private high schools and public high schools, right?
You only have,
I don't think they should all be in the same boat and perhaps have two separate divisions.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Again, it's just about bringing people bringing students into the world of rugby and keeping them there.
It does look like a very exciting year for both championships with life in the women's side. That's going to bring very nice competition. And on the men's side, for what I talked yesterday with most of the teams, everybody's like, they can't wait to be competing. And I think it's going to be a championship we're going to be following closely. Mr. Ross Davenport.
For sure.
Davenport.
All right. Let's move on from our college to the pros. A professional. Is Cisco a professional referee?
I don't know. We're going to ask him if he gets paid.
Ask him. Anyway, Cisco Lopez, who just made his debut. I'll say last month now because we are in October. So made his debut last month on the World Rugby 7 circuit. Again, former Florida player, referee.
Let's bring him in.
Just a generally decent bloke, Cisco Lopez. Bring him in.
Hey, everybody.
There he is. Cisco, where are you joining us from this evening?
Atlanta, Georgia, where I live nowadays.
You traitor.
You made it back across the border.
I made it. I was scared, but they did let me back in the States. I was like, oh, thank God.
Good stuff. So we did have an episode with Cisco as part of our sort of refereeing roundtable last year. It was great fun with him and Haley and Lex Weiner and Khalil Harrison. But Cisco, give us, for those of you that may not have checked out that episode, give us a brief Cisco rugby history.
Yeah, cool, sweet. So I played for a couple years with Miami Under-19 rugby with Ronnie Suarez as the head coach. My dad, Pancho Lopez, was the S&C coach. Charlie Velasquez was the water boy professional.
All the rest. All the rest.
No, Charlie had a great job of every time we had a new player, he would just bring them to the side for 30 minutes and just explain from scratch what this game is about, how you played, all the principles. I remember getting the lecture. I think it's
you got it from me?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, I got you started in this career. Good.
There it is.
Exactly. And so I played. Yeah, so I played maybe a year or two for under-19s rugby, and then after that, I ended up moving over to refereeing. I had refereed a couple of pretty good level under-19s tournaments up in Virginia, and I think that was my first taste of what like high-level rugby in terms of like U19 looked like, as well as me recognizing I probably couldn't play at that level, but I certainly could hang as a referee. And having graduated from high school and going to college, I then just made the decision to become a full-time, or not full-time referee, but to be committed to refereeing full-time. Look at him. He weighs 100 pounds soaking wet. You think he's going to make a tackle in a college game? There's no way. And so from there, I've got the lucky chance of being picked up on the sevens, the USA Rugby Referee Sevens pathway, where I've been an AR for the College Sevens National Championship, CRCs, which we've had before, as well as some national sevens competitions, regional sevens, Rugby Town, et cetera, et cetera. And that's been the whole pathway that I've been on now to where I'm refereeing on the World Seven Series circuit, which has been, just an absolute dream come true. Like you guys, it sounds so funny to hear, but like as a referee, we want to get to the top level that we can get to as well. And it was such a special moment for me to run out for that first game out in Edmonton.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, do you remember when you decided you wanted to be a referee, and what sort of made you? Because there's always these players out there that I'm going to play at the highest level I can, but you made that decision in an early. You had the head on your shoulders to understand that you perhaps weren't going to be an elite level player, but you could be an elite level ref. What sort of made you make that move to the whistle?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest things, and I think we talk about this a lot, like the national group of referees, like what drives us and how can we create a more conducive community at the national level for referees across the country. And I think one of the big things for me is the same, like I'm still just as competitive as I was back when I was a player. It's just a different kind of competitiveness. And I think one of the big things that got me into refereeing was, and this is no disrespect to any of the Florida referees that were refereeing me as a high schooler, but there was a feeling where I was like, oh, I could do just as good, if not a better job than them there.
Right.
No, but also knowing that I couldn't do a better job as a player. So kind of like being competitive in the arenas that I was genuinely competitive in. And so for me, it was that big drive of, oh, I think I could really do a good job at this. And of course, the challenge of refereeing is, I think if you haven't refereed before, go take your level 1, pick up the whistle and or even just referee like a scrimmage, like a practice scrimmage, and try and see how much you pick up and how much you miss in just a snapshot. It's such a complicated thing, and that uphill battle and that strive for sort of the perfect game, or the game that you walk away being completely satisfied with how you refereed, is I think something as well that just keeps me going back to the game of like even for me this last weekend, I think I could go out and do a better job next time. I think I can go out and do a better job next time. Is that commitment to improvement, I think was one of the big things that pulled me into it.
Unfortunately, this series is done, right, for this season?
Yeah, so technically, yeah, exactly.
When
the season was originally slated, this like shortened season, it was going to be 3 sets of 2 stops: Vancouver, Edmonton, Singapore, Hong Kong, Cape Town, Dubai. Unfortunately, Singapore got canceled and Hong Kong got canceled. Cape Town got canceled as well, and so now they have 2 Dubai stops, which those will now be the beginning of the next season. And so the 2 Canada stops were the whole series. So they crowned the series winners, South Africa, who played extremely well, the Blitzbach, super physical, super
but
fast.
Fiji was not there, so, doesn't really count. Come on.
It's a bit of an asterisk, but I think it was interesting too, seeing how everybody, both being the sort of perfect storm of the beginning of a new Olympic cycle, as well as a shortened competition, meant that, you had a team like Canada, a team like Ireland with almost, I think, the entire squad, new caps, debutantes in tournaments and stuff. And I think it's obviously really good for what the competition is going to be in 2023, getting as much new blood as we can. So a bit of an asterisk, but I think positive at the end of the day.
So when will things get started in 2022?
Dubai technically is the first stop for the 2022 tournament. I don't know if both technically count. I'm not like super in tune with that stuff. I think because the way that it's working right now is I think the first Dubai stop has no fans allowed as of right now, and then the second Dubai stop has all the fans allowed. And so I believe then that the second Dubai stop will be the first stop of the series proper.
Good stuff. Now, were you nervous this week? What was your first game?
First game was Jamaica GB. So I knew it was going to be a little, because also a lot of that Jamaica team is based out of the UK, as well as a lot of other places like Matthew Coore, obviously. Congrats to him on his debut as well in Edmonton. Obviously a South Florida boy from FAU and Boca. But so spread from a lot of places. But I knew that GB Jamaica game was going to be spicy while the ball in play was going on, as well as when ball in play was not going on. So,
were you nervous? I mean, obviously, you've ref big stuff before. You've refed, I know, down in South America, the Big Sevens down there, and you've refed, around the world. But how much nervous were you for that first game when you have been previously?
Yeah, I think I was the normal amount of nervous as I get for like a big game.
Cisco, I think Ross wants to ask you if you were shitting yourself. that is actually the question.
Thankfully, I was not. I felt thankfully, and to your point, Ross, I've done some other competitions. I've been in the Pan American Games, the Challenger Series in the sevens in South America, and so those were pretty good high level games. And I think for me, I was as nervous for this pool game on the series as I would be for a really high level final. I was just like, okay, we got it. Everything has to be, you have to show up. Everything has to be on point. You got to start from the get-go. You can't sort of like wait for the game to come to you. You just got to be alert and facilitate everything at the level that you expect. So for sure, I always get sort of like wobbly knees just as I'm running out of the tunnel every time that there's a big game for me. And it's just exactly the same. It happened. And I was like, just stride it out, get to the middle and smile for the camera. It'll all be good. It'll all be good. And then once the whistle goes, it's all good.
Yeah, that's it. Once that ball's kicked off, it's just one team against another team, right?
Yeah, and you always
hundreds of times.
Well. Yeah, and you always want to be nervous because if you're not sort of, your body's not ready for the occasion. I think if you're sort of just there completely robotically, just unaffected. It's like, nah, well, you're there because you care. So here we go.
Do you remember the most nervous you've ever been for a match? Sticks around, or have you?
I think for I think
character.
No, for me, I think of recent memory, the most nervous I've been for a game that I was in the middle for was the first match at the Pan American Games, because that was the first tournament that I was selected at, like, by World Rugby. It wasn't a nomination from USA Rugby referees. It was a selection by World Rugby to referee there. And Craig Joubert was there in person as our performance reviewer. I knew that, we were going to have to do like pretty strict video review afterwards. And it was Uruguay versus Canada as well. So it was like a really proper sevens game. Yeah. And that was one that I woke up 30 seconds into the game and was like, oh, I'm refereeing. So that's probably the one that I look back on like, oh, I wish I would have been a little bit less nervous, but I'm glad I have that behind me now.
So now you're on the circuit. Are there any other American refs on the circuit in 2022?
I'm the lone one this time around.
And
to be fair, Emily Shea was on the circuit recently. She was a part of the circuit in the lead up to Tokyo. And as of right now, the Challenger Series, which I was on back at the beginning of 2020, is still slated to go on. And we do have 3 American referees in the Challenger Series. Kat Roche, who is the first woman referee in MLR game, Haley Aguiar from the Pacific Northwest now, and Joey Swatsol. All of us are MLR ARs as well. So a good MLR referee group represented, but American representation as well.
So how does it work from a year-to-year basis? You're obviously committed for next year, for 2022, and you're reviewed on a yearly basis, as to if you're going to stick around, and how does that all work?
Yeah, it seems like it's we go through the season and you're working with a coach, and you have your work-ons from season to season, and the coach is usually Craig Joubert, and so he likes to keep things nice and simple. So from one tournament to the next, usually you're trying to focus on just one thing, and I think so we'll see. I haven't had my one-on-ones yet with Craig after the last tournament, just because everybody's gone back home and we've had rugby to referee as well. So just to let it all digest and stuff. And so it should be year to year from what I understand, and always based off of performance. Obviously, the cycle that we work off of is we have a group of 19 referees on the men's elite side. That group is going to be whittled down to 12, who will be the 12 who will be referees and assistant referees in the Paris 2024 games. And that team needs to be, the cream of the crop. And so that all of the assessment and all of the renewals are based off of performance and everything.
So that would be a goal for you, I assume, is to get to the Olympics.
Yeah. No, it's the biggest dream. The biggest dream possible would be to be a part of an Olympic Games. It would be something absolutely just special, I think, in a way that is inexpressible.
Are you getting a tattoo for that?
You better.
I don't know.
Like Perry.
Just put a whistle in one of the circles.
Put a whistle. Or like an asterisk or 5 whistles.
Ross, why don't we bring in Pancho and
let's bring in Proud Papa. who was almost an Olympian himself.
And
how close are you to being an Olympian in seconds?
Oh no, I met the Olympic time for Seoul 1988.
Right.
Every Olympics they have different times.
Which event? For those that don't know, which event? Fill them in.
I was a 400 hurdler, and then towards the end I was a half miler. I ran a little bit of everything, just like I ran a 5K in 15:33 just for fun, because I could hang with the Kenyans.
Who
would win a half mile race between you and Cisco right now?
A half mile between me and me for sure. Half mile. He can't even. By the time I'm done, he's like warmed up at the end of the first lap.
We'll put him on the skates. He can go on the skates.
No, on the skates. On the skates, I'm done. On the skates.
Or if we put hurdles down, I think that might be.
No, we put hurdles. No, I don't know.
Then I'll take it.
We can't put you anywhere near hurdles, Cisco. We know what happens when you do silly things like play touch rugby. So we can't put you anywhere near hurdles. Well, Pancho, tell us about how proud you are of your son here.
Did you see this coming?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I feel like I'm like, am I not celebrating enough? But I could see this coming. Cisco was very talented off the bat. I mean, when he started reffing, when he started playing rugby, I was like, I'm not sure this is going to work out, because Fermin was
a
rugby player in our family, right? And Cisco would come and hang out, and Bruce Kelly told him, dude, why don't you just come and play? And he's like, okay. So he showed up, and Cisco actually played some really good rugby. A couple of times he was the man of the match.
Really?
I remember times where he would tackle and get his own ball and pass it out. And, he did very good. That was a surprise for me, because at that time he wasn't so much into sports. He was skateboarding a lot. And so I didn't see him as so athletic, but when he did rugby, I was like, oh, wow, check that out. He could do that. But he really stunned all of us during a practice. He had gotten injured, so he started reading the laws, and he started reffing some of our practices, and he was like super sharp, man. And he kept Ronnie Suarez at bay, because Ronnie's like, whoa, what is that kind of call? And then he'll tell him, and Ronnie was like, oh, okay, cool, that makes sense. And every time that he AR'd for a more senior referee, he'd come up with like really interesting situations, like during halftime. He always brought up stuff that everybody else was like, why didn't I think of that? Wait a minute, that's pretty sharp there. So I could see this coming. He's got good genes. He's a good runner too, so with a good running, and he has a very insightful, he's got a rugby head. Sometimes you have these little kids that play chess really good because they can see what's happening on the board. To me, Cisco was a kid like that. As soon as he got on the field to ref, he knew what was happening. He was very, very much in tune with the game. So that was very unique. It's rare to see kids that can just have that quick insight. Mostly that's the older refs that have been around for a long time. They're really experienced. So to see him at 16 having that type of insight was like, this guy can go far. Jerry Fitzgerald and Terry Day immediately said, hey, this guy's going to go all the way. So I was not surprised when he got that email. I told him from World Rugby that he had been selected. I'm like, just forward it to me, and I keep it in the little special box.
You forward it to everybody
No, I keep him. I hardly ever share stuff with anybody. It's rather private. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be forwarding something I'm not supposed to, so I just keep it to myself. But I wasn't surprised. I just know that he's very talented and paired up with good running genes, and he's a hard worker too. When I was giving him a lot of running, he always digested it well. Other people tend to break down. So when I was first getting him started with heavy duty running, he responded very well. Charlie's kids responded very well because there was another bunch of that group of kids that I was training that were very, very talented physically and hard-working kids. So wasn't surprised at all. Very proud. I mean, my kids make me proud.
Of course.
Anyway.
Okay, you said proud 10 times already.
I think he's proud, Charlie.
Yeah.
Charlie's dug up some videos. We got 4 videos to show Cisco. Charlie, play the first one, which was, do you know what year this was? Your promotion to C3.
I have an exception for that. This is the day, Terry, when you stand up and...
Look at Roy House
current president of the FRA. There's the late Terry Day. I know someone who's played a big part in Cisco's early development. C3.
Like genuinely excited. What a nerd.
See Jeremy Brown there. We'll hear from him in a minute. That was the first step, right? When you get to C3, that's sort of like, people recognizing that I'm actually kind of useful at this. I see Cisco posted there, get Mateo to ref. Listen, Cisco, you don't know how many times I've asked Charlie, and now he's getting back to playing again. So we're not going to go there.
Let's
play the next video, Charlie. Your little interview. It's Cisco's first international match. This was between FIU and...
Excited about your international game today?
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
Is this your first international game?
No.
No? It's not going to be your last for sure.
Not your last. I knew it.
What year was this?
Well, if Mateo ever touches the ball, yellow.
This is like 2015.
This is going to go to...
It's only 6 years. This is how far you can get in 6 years.
Just FIU?
Yeah,
just FIU?
This is pre-mustache.
Chris,
this is
if he doesn't get a red
pre-mustache,
card, he owes me like a lot of money, first of all. Second of all, if Santi's not going to play, so it's okay. He's there sleeping in his house somewhere. And then Jose should just sneak on the field and play, because it'll be okay.
See Richard Hessler in the background there, and John Selden, 2 of the old rugby referees.
Richard Law was also back there. I don't know what
nurturing the young ones. And then Charlie has some clips from this past weekend. Charlie,
we have this clip that has been going around.
The tackle in the corner.
Second ever TMO my whole life.
Tremendous speed. Franklin won't be caught.
This is an amazing tackle.
Franklin is caught. Flag goes up. It's a tremendous.
What did you think of this one in real time?
I thought it was too close. No, that's immediately like we're checking.
Yeah,
I saw a grounding. I just didn't know if it was on the line, right? So it's just that's when you go to TMO.
Yeah, he definitely grounded it. But I think if you look at it, you'll see in the replay here he's a little short, right?
Yep, he gets it short at first.
Corner flagging defense.
Come on, Charlie.
Oh, sorry.
Charlie, what?
Charlie.
Fired. You're fired. Well, he was short of the line and it bounced away.
What a shot.
TMO is exciting because the focus is all on you.
Yeah.
And they can hear everything you're saying. So
exactly.
You can be cursing, right? Pinche mamon.
We also do have I'm not going to say a short video, but it's not particularly short. So, Charlie, we have some words from some bald bloke in New York who when I saw this video, it reminded me of Liam Neeson saying he has a particular set of skills. That speech, and Charlie's going to play it now. Throw Jeremy in here.
You have to listen with attention. Okay?
So, hey, Cisco. Charlie's hooked me into have a chat. Give me 60 seconds, but I'm sure I'll go over. I just think it's really important to say, fantastic, congrats. But you're at the beginning. The beginning, there's so many more things to get through, so many more big challenges to come across. But what you've done is majestic, absolutely majestic. And hard work.
Have a particular set of skills.
Is the way forward. If we slack, we don't do it. If we work at it, we get there. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about some great memories which I have. I think that the biggest one, which gave me the most pleasure, was a direct impact from actually what you were doing on the pitch. You were not reffing, you were scrum halving, you were number 9 for that fantastic Miami high school team, and back in 2013. And I remember driving all the way over to, not to Estero, but somewhere in Fort Myers. And there we got it, you know, Miami High School, Naples High School. I think it was the semi-final of the championship, and you were playing 9. And it was pretty close. I think something like 21-22, about 15 minutes to go. And scrum to the Miami put in. And, you know, you were there, you were a kid. You weren't particularly beefy, let's put it that way. And, yeah, ball put in. Nice strike by your hooker. Days of Ronnie Suarez, I think it was Ronnie. If it wasn't, it should have been.
It was.
Stable front row. Ball was hooked back. And you looked around left, looked around right. But something you forgot is that their back row is something like 3 times the size of you. And you picked the ball up, and what did Cisco do? He went the wrong way. Ran straight into the back line, and promptly got dumped. And number 8 or number 7, don't know who it was, picked you up, planted you in the head, and I was there. And I thought, no, this isn't right. This isn't what I'm reffing for. This is not really right. And so I blew my whistle, called the guy over. He was actually maybe twice my size too. And I pleasantly showed him the red card. That was the best red card I've given in the United States. Not because of the actual impact, but because I
remember that.
Something which we live by, which is fair play, which is honesty, which is respect, which is, you know, what we live for. If we go out there and we manage it, we produce great results, Cisco. And so, in essence, we worked together. You gave me a fantastic opportunity to practice exactly what I believe in. Referees, we're privileged people, and we mustn't abuse it. And you haven't. You've gone all the way. And you, my young friend, have got the opportunity to go a lot further. And whatever you reap, share it back. Share it with everybody who will one day look up at you and say, I want to be Cisco Lopez. Congratulations, mate. If I had 3 godchildren to choose, you would be in those 3, and 2 I already have anyway. So there's a space there. Pancho, look after your kid, buddy. Be proud of him. Cisco, take care, mate. Cheers.
Nice words there from Jeremy Brown, former
that was nice.
Former Florida referee.
Absolute legend, yeah.
Now up in New York. Good stuff there. Well, we're running over time, Charlie.
Yeah.
I did have one clip I wanted to show Cisco.
Wait. We have to talk to Matt.
Let's show Cisco this other clip first, because at the FCC 7th this weekend, I told Scott Duval I'd ask you about this clip. He was a referee.
I got it.
I asked him, and I wanted your opinion on it. Being in the lofty position that you are, Charlie, play this clip for Cisco. And should this have been a card?
Well, it definitely is a lifted tackle, I'm pretty sure.
It's a lifted tackle. Oh, what do we think? What do we think, Sis? It was a winger against a prop, first of all. Which is
No. Foul play doesn't have context, Ross. Foul play doesn't have context, Ross.
What does Cisco think of that?
I think in sevens, to be fair, right? Obviously, in sevens, we are much more probably on the conservative side in terms of dealing with foul play. I think there's a lot more yellow cards seen for foul play in sevens. So I actually do think this is pretty close to a yellow, because it's a clear lifted tackle. He probably doesn't go beyond the horizontal, but he's lifted. And as soon as you lift a player, you're in responsibility of whatever happens to him afterwards.
Yes.
And so, you know, he's lifted him, and the player's landed on his side. Any referee that gets that report from their assistant referee will say that is it's a yellow card straight away. and that goes back though to what Jeremy was saying, like that what's one of the main things we're doing when we're out there is protecting the players and making sure everybody's playing fairly and safely. So a bit of a lifted tackle, maybe a soft yellow card, but I think by the letter of the law, well within his rights, Scott Duval.
Scott is vindicated. Scott, even with the sunglasses. I mean, listen, Scott doesn't have the benefit of the replay, obviously, like we do. So it was a split-second decision, and he made the right decision. So
yeah.
I'm proud of Scott. I made him head ref this weekend, and he didn't let me down. Attaboy, Scott. All right. Well, let's bring in Matt Coore. We can keep the Lopez's in here.
Yeah, let's keep the Lopez's.
Just
before we bring in Matt, I just want to say hello to this young lady who is
Valentina,
our biggest fan. Vale. There's Nico. You can look. She has the right jersey on today.
Where's
as you can see.
He's hanging out in the back here.
She has the potatoes. That's my.
Celebrating that big 3-point victory yesterday.
Not a victory, but it doesn't fit that well because it's mine, as you can imagine.
That's all right.
She can fit in 3 times in that shirt probably.
That's all right. Great to see Valentina as always.
Gracias, Valentina. Después nos vemos.
Chris Bass is with us as well.
Mira Pancho.
I don't think she's missed an episode of T-Frog.
Oh no,
she's probably the only person that hasn't missed an episode.
Ciao, Vale.
We're all bringing memories.
All right,
like
let's bring in Matt Coore. What's he got? What's Pancho got?
Let's
there?
go.
That's Charlie on a ladder.
What's going on?
Oh, that's
Matt Coore. Matt, we got 5 minutes because I'm running late already. Matt, give us a bit of your rugby history and where you ended up this past weekend.
Yeah, so it started back in 2012 at FAU, and then from FAU, I got a chance to run with the Boca men's for a couple seasons, and then just went to a different amount of traveling sides throughout. And then, up till this year, just last month, I got to go to Edmonton. So,
yeah,
a lot more
just
like that. Just like that.
He's off to Canada to play national rugby for Jamaica. So tell me, how did this come about, Matt?
Oh, would you go playing for Jamaica?
Yeah, how'd that come about?
Oh, so I've been in touch with them for years now, actually. So I follow them on Instagram, and they're constantly like posting on their stories. So in a sense, I just been trolling their DMs and saying, this is the time. Like, I feel the best I've ever been. Anytime they post something, I would just type, I'm ready. Anything they post, I'm ready. But then I kept in touch with
highlights. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We showed some highlights of your efforts this past weekend.
Ooh, well, you talk about effort. That's in all caps. Man.
So how do you qualify for Jamaica, Matt?
My parents actually are both born and raised there. So that I did to play for Jamaica. And then the funny thing is, for this past tournament, you didn't have to show it. So, but they do know both. So, they were just one of the managers was like, "Hey, Matt, are you ready to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been waiting for this." But I didn't realize how many things I had to get in order just to travel. So that was pretty. Yeah. Friday night.
Wait. Say it again.
I said I arrived Friday night, and the tournament's the very next day.
Wow.
Yeah.
No lie. I'm walking in the hotel, we're having our refs, one of the local refs had a cute little barbecue because in Edmonton we were on lockdown, we couldn't leave the hotel. Yep. So one of the tech zone referees brought a barbecue, brought it into the hotel. We were all eating, and then I'm walking out with the physio just to get a late massage or whatever. And then I just see somebody walking around with a Miami Sun backpack. And I'm like, who the fuck, or who's here with a Miami Sun? And then I literally see that it's Matt Coore. And I was immediately like, are you serious? Matt Coore. That was literally Friday night. So you must have just landed at that point.
Yes. I just got to the hotel, man. I didn't even realize.
That's amazing.
You neither. I could our paths couldn't cross any better. It was it was
no. And it was literally that your first game when you came on as sub, right, from the GB game. That was the first game that I had on the series ever as well.
That's awesome. As you see, Matt here playing for SoFlo, as well as for Ronnie Suarez's Stormers over the last few years.
Yeah, and then hey, that's another massive through line too, right? Ronnie and just his philosophy of the way that he doesn't coach rugby players, he coaches people, right? But then look what happens when you coach that way.
Yeah,
we tried to get him on. We did try to get him on tonight. He's a hard man to pin down.
He's a busy man.
Yeah, screw him.
So Matt, how was the overall experience? Before we let you go, give us a sort of overview of the weekend.
No, it was fun. It was fun. A lot of fun. Actually, I got broke the most I ever got broke before. So like playing against Great Britain definitely showed me, okay, like moving. You know, I'm not like too bad of a slow player. You know what I mean? Like I know how to get around, but it felt pretty good. After that first game, I felt all the wind kind of get back to me. And then I was able to go ahead and just like gut out the rest of the tournament because I've been preparing, but like playing sevens in order to keep that conditioning, as we all know, you got to be in that full-time environment unless you're just like a freakish athlete that could always catch their wind. So other than that, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Definitely.
What was the biggest difference? Just the hits and the physicality of that first game?
No, not even. Just them moving. Like they could just move the ball so well. Like from left to right, keep it flowing, you know, and then as we all know, moving left to right on defense, eventually something's going to open up and break. So we kind of let, like, for Jamaica, us, we were a little bit more passive. So we kind of played into how they like to attack. So if that's one thing we want to take away was kind of pressing up a little bit more. But then again, you know, when you press up on steppers, you don't want to do that. So all in all,
good stuff.
Yeah.
What a great experience. And Matt, what's up next for you rugby wise?
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get another more runs with Jamaica. World 10s is possibly in the mix.
Yeah, you played in that in Bermuda, of course, from Miami.
Yeah, through the IMG Combine. Shout out to Paul Holmes and James Walker.
Another guy we try to get on, Paul Holmes. We'll get him on one of these days. He's another busy man. So yeah, so it was a bit of this, bit of that, and just keeping fit, obviously.
Yeah, just been training. I've been training. Like I treat my lifestyle as if I was gonna be prepared for these moments. I'm happy I've been on it. Honestly, because if not, I definitely would have been I would have been a lot more exposed. I felt like I did okay just to adjust to that high level of talent, and then just to play with those guys literally the day of. You know what I mean? I studied so much film to understand their tendencies throughout the game, so I could see what they're gonna do in certain situations. But then you really don't know until you're actually in them. You know? So those little nuances, that was tough to get around. But other than that, it was just fun to be out there, just to go ahead and see where I can stand and play at that level. So.
Oh, awesome stuff. I mean, who would have thought we'd ever see a ref and a player from Florida in the World 7 Series?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Funny enough, though, with Cisco reffing our game, I got like a mini break. And I was like, oh my God, I was so just putting it down like at least 5 yards away. But I can't double roll. We all know you can't double roll anymore.
Yeah, you did. Oh my God. It was literally like you got tackled, then there's 2 rolls. I give the penalty, I was like double roll. And then I see you get up and I'm like, Matt.
What the fuck?
I had to stop. I felt it. I knew it was coming. And then I knew
yeah.
So I have a quick question for Cisco. Was it hard to keep up with these guys running wise? Could you keep up? Or was there a difference?
No, I think like this was pretty similar to Challenger Series and Pan American Games, a style of play where teams are either stretching it left and right, or kind of maybe like kind of how Kenya play a little bit more like one-up runners. And so I think like the biggest thing is like once you realize how like what the structure of the attack is, you can just anticipate like where they're trying to engage the defense. And then as a referee, you just want to take a quick line there while also trying to stay like ball in line to make sure that you can see forward passes and stuff like that. And so it's maybe I think like I've had to change how I run on the field at a higher level because of the way that the teams play. But if anything, the hardest parts are just when there are those breakaways, right? Like that try in the corner that Nick almost got, that was off a kickoff. That was like, it was the kickoff and then Mexico didn't field it. It bounced, Nick got it, turned around and sprinted. And those are the times when it's just like, it's at a standstill and everybody just goes. Those are the hard ones to keep up with because those guys at this level are just so fast.
That's every game that I ref, Cisco. That's every game that I ref. I'm like, just tell me if you're going to make a breakaway.
Let me know 5 seconds before you start running.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, and another quick question: Are you like planning to stay in sevens, not do 15s, or are we gonna see you in a World Cup for 15s also? because I want to go.
For 15s that's a whole level beyond. I think that'd be crazy. I don't know.
But is it something you have in the back of your head?
Obviously, yeah. I think like the two biggest, like in 15s, the biggest thing to be a part of is obviously the World Cup, and then in 7s it's the Olympics. Hopefully, you know, I was in AR for 13 games in the MLR this last season. So hopefully I've showed some stuff to get a chance in the middle for MLR in the next couple of years. And for me, it's just refereeing is refereeing. I don't like seeing myself as a 7s ref or a 15s ref. I think, right, you have to be a referee. You have to be able to get the respect of the players, keep the game safe, keep the game fair. And so yeah, I mean, absolutely. It won't be like whatever happens with 7s and then I'm going to walk off.
Okay.
I'm going to try and stay in as long as possible.
You do remember our agreement, right?
No.
If you, I've been telling you this for years, that when you get to the World Cup, you're taking me as your personal photographer, because I've been there since day one, and I want to be there that day. And you're paying for all of this shit or
That sounds like a reasonable deal.
I got it. It is reasonable. It is reasonable.
Yeah.
I think
Great
that's
stuff, boys.
Good thing I
doable thing.
Exactly. That's not a big request. Well, gentlemen, it's been a great episode. Cisco, great to catch up. Matt, congratulations on the international appearance for Jamaica. Pancho, congratulations on Cisco's achievements and helping him get. I know you played a big part, especially on the running and fitness side of things. And listen, it's always great to see Florida folks doing great things outside the state and outside the country as well. So best of luck next year, Cisco, on the circuit, and obviously with MLR as well. And Matty Coore, good luck in your future rugby endeavors. We'll have you guys back on, I'm sure, maybe next year to catch up and see how everybody's doing.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, guys.
Charlie,
hasta la
well
vista.
done, as always.
305, the 305.
We always go long. But I think this was as long as we're presenting quality content and quality people, I don't mind going a little bit extra. And that was a great episode tonight. So.
Oh man, it's so hard to keep it. It's so hard.
No, I know.
But
we got talkers, and if people have got good things to say, I'm going to let them talk.
So we'll probably see everybody in 2 weeks, right? That is the plan for now.
Occasionally, T-Fro, always occasionally.
Yeah,
so perhaps, we'll see where I'm at and wait. Well, you're always around. It's me that's the busy one, but we'll see where we are. But thanks for everybody tuning in tonight. Obviously, you can catch the replay on YouTube or on Facebook, and you can catch the audio-only podcast version on all major podcast platforms. Just search for T-Fro or Talking Florida Rugby, and you can find us there.
I'll be posting more of these episodes of the referees during the week. I got 3 new ones from the guys at FCC 7s.
Nice. Content machine, Charlie Vasquez. You love it.
For now, we'll see.
All right, man. Well, thanks for everybody for tuning in. Thanks for everybody that joined us tonight. Jesse Permet and Kirk Swanner regarding the FCC stuff, and obviously Cisco Lopez and Matt Coore, the newest Florida boys, making it on the international scene. Great to see.
Awesome.
Cheers,
Good
Charlie.
night.
Good work as always.
I'll see you around. Bye-bye.